The National Youth Development Agency, NYDA, has achieved a fifth clean audit and 100% performance of its annual targets. The fifth clean audit outcomes, as declared by the Auditor General, comes at a time that the NYDA celebrates 10 years since establishment from a merger of Umsobomvu Youth Fund and the National Youth Commission. The agency says it has been able to support 1,103 youth-owned enterprises through the NYDA Grant Programme, which shows an increase from a set target of 840 due to additional funding received from the Jobs Fund. So joining us is NYDA chairperson Sifiso Mtsweni to tell us more. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right. Is it a surprise that you got a fifth clean audit, and how did you manage to sustain that trend?
Well, it's not a surprise at all. I think over the last 5 years, the NYDA has put in place a system where we actually cleaned up the governance, ensured that we employ the right people to the right positions, ensure that we stabilize governance at the level of the institution. We've been having board of directors. I'm part of the third board of directors, which was able to be drawn from all sectors of our economy. Or the sectors of our youth structures. For instance, I've been in the small business sector for the last 10 years before I was actually put into the board. So indeed, what we've actually done is to make sure that we clean up governance, set up systems, and I'm very happy that we've been able to get a fifth clean audit. But on top of that, this clean audit also is accompanied by zero on wasteful and unauthorized expenditure, which is something that is unheard of, particularly within state-owned institutions.
Mm-hmm. Something very interesting coming from your answer. You cleaned up governance. Where was it dirty?
Well, of course, as you said in your insight when you started, that when the institution started, it was a merger of two institutions, Umsobomvu as well as the National Youth Commission. And of course, when you bring two legacy institutions, there's always going to be problems in the beginning. You know, you're bringing together two different staff components, you're bringing together two management styles, and so on and so on. So of course, in the beginning, there would always be what I call teething problems. But I think what has now happened is that over the last 5 to 6 years, we've been able to put in place a system that says, how do we run our governance? How do we ensure that we stick to various principles, King 3, King 4, those particular principles in place? And how do we ensure that, particularly the Finance Management Act is in system? How do we make sure that we also appoint the right people to the right positions? Because in the beginning, when you may just put people into certain positions. But now, I can assure you now that, for instance, our CEO is one of the top 10 chartered accountants in the country. Our CFO is one of the top 30 within the country. So we're not only appointing the right people, we're appointing the best people in order to ensure that they actually drive this ship forward.
Okay, so now given the sustainability trend that you have been experiencing, what has been the success rate in terms of the number of companies that you managed to fund? And where are they getting things right in terms of or against the numbers that you have to decline given the overload of applications that you usually get? Well,
I think one of the things that we said we will do, in the past when we made our research, is that you find that a lot of businesses fail within the first 3 years. Now, due to a variety of reasons. One of those is that the current system of assisting SMMEs is based on a loan system. So you've got institutions of government that normally operate as banks. People go there, they apply for funding. And for the first 3 years to 5 years, you find yourself having to pay back a loan instead of actually focusing on your business and going forward. But the other thing is the fact that, it's always important to separate the entrepreneurs from everybody else. I mean, of course, some people, they say, look, let me start a business because I'm unemployed or whatever it is. So what we did is that we've developed a model, a very rigorous model, where, entrepreneurs come in, we take them through a rigorous training process that will actually teach them entrepreneurship, teach them how to deal with their finances, teach them all aspects, marketing and so on and so on. Then after that, what we've now done is that we've removed the element of, loan funding. We're now doing what we call grant funding. So what entrepreneurs will actually come and say, look, I need stock, I need machinery, I need this and that. So what we then do is that we then fund those particular things. So we get the stock for you, we get the machinery for you. But what we also do is that we've got what we call a mentorship program. So we appoint mentors, people who have been in the industry for some time. They come in, they hold those entrepreneurs by the hand. And by the way, our success rate as compared compared to all other departments, is at 60%. If you go and look at others, particularly who are using loan systems, they're actually sitting at around 28%, 30%. It is because we think that the support to SMMEs must be both financial and non-financial, but mentorship plays a very crucial part in that regard.
So your offices have been augmented through the Jobs Fund. How much was it, and how has it been able to help your processes?
Well, I think one of the things that the NYDA has been struggling with over the last few years is the fact that youth development in our country is grossly underfunded. For instance, we're talking about one aspect of youth development, which is entrepreneurship. There's a whole range, skills development, when you talk about bursaries as well that we give the National Youth Service. So what we've now done is that we're actually making partnerships with various, departments. We've now recently made a partnership with the UIF. The Jobs Fund last year was something that, by the way, even caught us a bit by surprise because it came through in November. But in fact, that 31 million injection, already there was a group of entrepreneurs that were actually waiting for that funding. And it's something that we appreciate. But this year, I'm very happy to announce to you that 3 provincial governments, the Eastern Cape, has now initiated what is called the Umsobomvu Youth Fund, which is investing 150 million over the next 3 years. The Premier of Northern Cape has also come on board to invest about 50 million into entrepreneurship. The same as, here in Gauteng, Ekurhuleni has actually come in to say, look, as a municipality, we're coming in to actually assist. So what we're saying is that all the partners, let's come together. We think that the NYDA model is a successful model. Let's put money into it and make sure that we actually assist more entrepreneurs out there.
All right, so much to talk about, and of course we hope that it's not your last visit to the studio, so that we can unpack some of these issues concerning the problems of entrepreneurs that are non-financial. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got the chairperson, Sifiso Mtsweni. He, of course, leads the National Youth Development Agency.